I've heard this from my 10-year-old daughter, how somebody was attacked. And we will consider real examples, real cases of attacks aimed at children and teenagers on the internet. And will be given by the head of Positive Technologies, one of the project managers at Positive Technologies, Irina Zinovkina, who will tell us about children problems, or maybe not so childish problems. Hi everyone, my name is Irina. I'm head of the research area at Positive Technologies, and it seems great, but maybe that's not the main thing I do in my life. 3 years ago, appeared a person who took a lot of time that I had to dedicate more time to him rather than to work, and this is my son. And I thought that 3 years ago, that 3-year-old toddlers are just people who do not really understand anything. And I'm one of the mothers who bought laptop to my kid when he was only 2.5 years old, and I admit this. And in my support, I can say that I give laptop to my kid only when we travel or when we want to have peace of mind together with my husband, and we want to engage our kid with the laptop with something. And I had no idea that he had to get with the application. It took me so much time to teach my relatives, and he knows what to do, how to close applications, how to answer calls, and it's actually so scary. I would like him to learn other skills as fast as possible, as fast as he's learned laptop skills. So today I wanted to talk about attacks aimed at children. So since I'm a researcher, I have to give you some slides with graphs and diagrams. We have social engineering, we have phishing attacks, we get scam calls from different banks, green banks, yellow banks. Probably the situation is more or less the same for teenagers. Obviously, teenagers are aims or scammers. They do not have enough personal experience. And truth to be told, not all adults have enough personal experience, life experience, but children have access to parental devices. They have their own devices. And unless I hope my child does not remember my passcode on my phone so that it will not be a problem. But still, this lack of experience is one of the reasons why scammers aim their attacks at children. And I've separated them in 4 groups. That's just a conditional division. We cannot say that children of 5 years old have the same threats as 15 years old. And obviously it depends on the child, but still, when we're talking about children, I decided to lower the age from... The first group is between 3 and 6 years old. Children at this age trust anyone, believe anyone, but they can become scammed because they believe anyone and trust anyone. It becomes more complicated during the school years. Big children, big problems. They start working with critical thinking. They start talking and communicating with more other people, with children, with teenagers, with adults. And high school children are actively looking for adventures, for job opportunities, and obviously scammers use these need. So that's a big research table. I will share materials later, but I think that's more for my personal need, because for every threat, I have critical levels for each age and what can be the result, what can be the consequences if that vulnerability, so to say, is exploited. And I hope that it's not exactly the same for my 3-year-old kid, which would be very different from my teenage son. And we can see that the category from 13 to 18 years is the one that has the highest risk of potential ramifications, so we'll discuss them later. In general, today I would like to discuss those cyber threats that are not connected with cyberbullying, that are not connected with dangerous games, and probably other experts should talk about this. They probably should know about this. I know more about scams, but obviously I do not use it. I've collected all the cases that are somehow related to children. I've collected a big databases. We've collected all the incidents in the world, the successful attacks. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a similar database aimed at children. And the majority of them are connected with the in-game currency and some kind of enhancements and improvements in game. Ransomware, illegal activity, all that is quite often here. And finally, there's the level of social engineering, which aim at children to get to their parents. So we start with the least risky element. And when I was going around collecting cases, there were children who were 4 years old, 5 years old, and I realized that it will be just a few years before I will have my personal experience on this study. But usually these are children 8 years old, 9 years old. They have different baits to get there. Maybe they have phishing links, some free promo codes, and other ways to get there. The main problem here is that children have access to banking accounts of their parents, and they can easily send big money to scammers. 900,000 rubles were sent to scammers. And sometimes children can even take a loan, because you can do this online in Sberbank or other bank. You just push a button and you enter the SMS. Usually, the scammers misrepresent or pretend to be a personality, a celebrity who might be popular among children, and then they either pay for scammers, or maybe scammers want to get something more from them. They give them different tasks to fulfill. Take a photo of your mom's phone, go here, do this, and they kind of play this game. But the scariest part is probably the threat of the potential legal ramifications. And here we have the different age group, because 5-year-olds do not really look for additional income. At least I hope that 5-year-olds don't have to go find a job and earn money. Usually this happens with teenagers. Maybe somebody asks them to set a fire on something, and this could result in legal activities. Our government is actively engaged to decrease this. This is where we're talking about drops. Drops are people who are easy to manipulate, easy to scam, usually from the more poor layer of the population. And so many children fall prey to these scammers. They are engaged for different things. Maybe somebody made a mistake and they are contacted by a scammer and they say, well, I made a mistake, I sent you the wrong, I sent you some money, please bring it, please send me back. Maybe it is a legitimate employee of some bank or any other organization, and they propose the child to earn a little bit of money. And obviously we say that it's bank employees, but they do have a lot of scam schemes. Another point is when scammers provide data with banking data and say that they have to bring back this money. Obviously, there are other problems, not just drops. Children do not know all the laws, and even I do not know all the laws. But another problem is that when we're talking about teenagers who are 14, 15 years old, and they are given a task, a quest to set fire in an apartment, and they're given some money as a way for this, and some teenagers set fire on a train, and they might face 15 years in prison for this. For me, I think one of the lesser of two evil is monetary loss. But sometimes it becomes so crazy, and I took this together. It's ransom, some kind of ransom activity where children are told that their parents will be imprisoned, that their parents are in danger, they committed some crimes, and you have to save them. And obviously, children are being manipulated. And we're not talking about just financial loss. We are talking about some specific situations where children could have physical harm, health problems. It can start with different channels. It can go through Telegram communication, maybe some dating apps, marketplaces. A call from the police is one of the most popular ways to ransom some information or something valuable from the victim. One of the things that I looked for is when a child receives a call from someone who claims to be a director of a school or maybe a deputy director. And the bigger the title, the bigger the scam. There are different ways to go there from this. Maybe they have to prove that they have access to a certain system through SMS message. Maybe their parents got in trouble, or maybe go through an exam. And this is very relevant for many high schoolers, especially they do not want to fail an exam. That's the point. Another point is when somebody who claims to be a police officer calls a child and they say that their parents might be imprisoned, that they had some financial fraud activity, that their bank accounts were hacked, and now we want to save your parents. And fraudsters don't even have to do anything. They just give the task to the child, and they ask the child to use the front camera, to take money, to take jewelry, to give it to a courier, and children just give up and give away those money, jewelry, and it can be absolutely unlimited. It's really hard to calculate potential loss from this. There were cases where children from rich families were tricked, and the financial gain or financial loss was in millions of rubles. There are different examples. In general, the spread of money could be different. And sometimes children are asked both to transfer money, but also maybe they're asked to go somewhere else. And then they call their parents and say that their child was kidnapped and they want money so that they can return their children. Deepfakes, AI are also part of this, and we listen about deepfakes during different presentations. So we also have deepfakes here. I've read an interesting research that thanks to the development of technologies, we decrease the level of critical thinking. And it is even harder for children because they have not yet developed critical thinking skills. And when they hear their parents on the voice call, their grandparents, or maybe they see them on the screen, they might fall prey for these scams. So these are the main ones. Social engineering, which is aimed at children, is absolutely boundless. All the schemes used against adults are used against children too. So, for example, if somebody writes me and tell me that I can get exam answers, well, I might say thank you, but I will not fall for this trick. But there are so many reasons for children to believe them. They are being tricked into asking for money, maybe. The main reason is that for children, their friends and their classmates might be more respected. They respect them more compared to their parents in many cases. Marketplaces are another ways which can be used against children because our kids can use all the benefits of technologies, can use technology, so they can be tricked through marketplaces as well. The damage from this standard attacks is the standard social engineering, standard phishing. The damage can be absolutely enormous. And it probably depends on the levels, on the level of the scammer, how much they actually want. And it also depends on the bank. When do bank employees stop giving out money, or if there is some kind of limit on ATM machine. And for games, I think it's more about making children do something they do not want to do. That's one of the popular games. And one of the games he likes is just to play Stray Cats. But even those games can make children do some illegal activity, and that's obviously not good. So what can we do? I do not really know. That's actually a very complex and difficult question to solve. There is the foundation, which I have to show, this database, which I have to show about this during any presentation. We're talking about cyber hygiene. We have to teach our children so that they do not do this. But even if we fall prey to these tricks, how can we teach our children not to do so? Probably we should learn from our kids. And in terms of children, cybersecurity, well, I still do not have enough experience. My kid is only 3 years old, but I think the most important point is to have trust relationship with your child, so that if they have a problem, if they have an accident, they would come to you and tell you about this, not to their friends, not to their classmates, not to anyone else, and for you to solve the problem. So another life hack, and this is what I try with normal people, not children, just an ability to accept your mistakes. It significantly increases the level of trust of the other party. And I think if parents accept their mistakes, it will significantly increase the trust level between you and your child. And then your son, your daughter will realize that, yes, they will be scolded a little bit, but they will also 100% get help if they ask for it. All the children are now in this cyberspace, and we have to say that adult problems have to be solved by adults, not by children. If there is someone from police and they say that parent help is needed, unfortunately, you cannot solve them. Parents have to save their kids, not vice versa. And if you can bring this point to your son, to your daughter, it will be a big win. Probably the scammers will not reach your kid. Another point is that police officials will not talk to children on very serious topics, and obviously something which did not happen. People from police talk to adults, not to children. And obviously you do not disclose SMS message codes. That's one of the basic things I should have put on the previous slide. So no SMS messages codes, but at least 2 people from my nearest circle of friends did this. and these are adults, not children.
Начали давить, сразу прекращать коммуникацию.
If there is a pressure on the child, they have to cut off the communication at all. Maybe there is some kind of game. Maybe you can say that I'm the parent, I can use some pressure, nobody else can use any pressure. I'm not sure how to phrase it, but that's usually the way to do. And if there is any problem, they should just go away from it. And finally, the only three thing is that if it's a trap,
С этими не общайся.
and you should not talk to scammers.
Недавно в нашем прекрасном журнале Positive Research вышла моя статья.
Recently, we had our I had an article published in Positive Research, our journal. These are the QR code links. The information is structured and aggregated, and it's very easy to read, to talk to your children. You can use this to talk to your children. And I hope that all the children will have no problem and they will have no reason to collect this information for successful attacks aimed at children for the next PH Days 2026.
Вот это самая польза.
Thank you, Irina. That's the benefit, that's the value. My daughter is 10 years old, and please, that doesn't really matter if you have a child who's 3 years old, 10 years old, this is the QR code you should use. And yes, obviously, it has the main information from the presentation. Well, you should have listened to the presentation, because I've prepared more for the presentation compared to what we had there. But okay, I have a general question. We could have a fake boss, we could have a fake bot, a number even of fake bosses. And I think that the vulnerability for my daughter is that she really loves to marry someone from Korea, and she loves idols, she loves Korean pop bands.
В общем, они обожают Stray Kids. Это что-то, вот когда мы там...
So she absolutely adores Stray Kids.
Такое Nirvana. Ну, в общем, это что-то...
In the 1990s, we loved Nirvana, and now children love pop bands from Korea. And if she's contacted by someone who looks like Korean, they might get through, even if they know that they should not do this. An additional point is that you should have this trust relationship with your children. And I finally have to make her understand that Korean people are different people like any other people, any other nations. There are good people and there are bad people. It does not depend on the nation, does not depend on the race.
Человек с западным образованием, там, неважно, и наша тоже хорошая.
And suppose we have an expert with higher education, and even she was scammed. She had financial education, she had lots of experience, and even she, an adult lady, was scammed. So we have to be very attentive, especially when it comes to children. Even my mother was talking about different things, and she was talking to scammers. Yes, our mothers and our children are the most potential, the most susceptible victims. You spoke about artificial intelligence. What news can you bring about EE? I actually had a number of presentations. What's your favorite? The favorite one is this one, because this is the one I just gave the presentation. But usually our AI is used for cyber protection. So we use AI for deepfakes, for attacks, but we also can use for defense. So how can we use it for defense? I would say it's tight. It's not very good in either side. It's not fully automated. AI is used in defense all over the place. Well, but you are talking about big companies. And in terms of common people, I'm not sure if you use ChatGPT. I'm not sure if you can use it or not. Can you? maybe you can ask ChatGPT if there is a scammer call or not, but it will tell you what to do. You go to your parents, you consult with people who know what to do.
Можно интернет отключить.
Maybe you can set up a firewall and you don't have to worry about anything. Maybe you can shut off the internet and there will be no cyber problems. This is what happened in Luzhniki.
И говорю, где?
I
Они говорят,
I had an event, a sports event,
Да-да-да.
and I was told that
а у нас
this is what we do in Spain. And I was not sure what I'm supposed to do here. But it turns out that an accountant was in Spain and they had a cyber attack where so many
blackout в Испании,
cities lost
я свои деньги не мог получить,
power.
Ну, вот
как здесь.
And because of blackout in Spain, I could not get my money, which I earned here in Moscow, in Luzhniki. Yeah, it was actually very interesting. We did not have mobile internet in Moscow, and I could not use my GPS navigator. You can actually stay at home, or maybe you can use Moscow subway. Moscow subway is the best subway in the world, not just in the world, even in Russia. The best metro, the best subway.